Hey everybody, it's Dan,
This is Ron.
and this is a nominee.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. And today we are covering, as we do every week, a very special movie,
It's always a special movie.
the birthplace of a whole new kind of cinema. Of course, we're talking about 1993's live-action Super Mario Brothers movie, because we were going to do Xanadu, but then the guest host that we wanted to do Xanadu with wasn't quite feeling up to it. So we went with the other thing I had sitting on my hard drive, because I think after how depressing last week's movie was, we needed something kind of stupid.
Yeah. Wow. I'm trying to remember, which movie did we watch last week?
Stars of the Roller State
Oh,
Disco.
yes, yes. Thank
That
you.
was a very depressing movie.
Yeah, it was. My mind was already going back to Kane. Kane.
Oh yeah, Cane Toads was like not bad. Yeah, Cane Toads was I feel like this is the first movie we've watched since the quarantine that didn't like intentionally or unintentionally have like being locked inside the house or pandemic themes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean,
Like
and it
Cane
wasn't.
Toads, it was on purpose. Stars of the Roller State Disco, that was just kind of that's how it was. And then I was watching Oz for like the first half of the quarantine, so that kind of added to because everybody's stuck in the prison.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, even though the world that they lived in like was clearly on a sound studio.
Well, they got to go outside in two separate dimensions, so this kind of breaks the. But yeah, so how? Oh man, so we all know what Super Mario Brothers the video game is. I think I don't think we need to explain that too much to the audience. Most people have played some variation on it. You're a little plumber, little Italian plumber dude. You jump on things, you collect coins, and you rescue the princess from this big thing that looks kind of like some road spikes before a toll booth had sex with a turtle. And it's fun, and it's Mario the plumber. Super Mario is the most recognized popular figure in the world.
You think so?
They did a study on it. More people internationally recognize Super Mario than Jesus
Wow.
or Ronald McDonald.
Wow. Wow.
There have been a couple good movies made about the life of Jesus, no good movies made about Ronald McDonald, and so far, no good movies made about Super Mario. But there was a live action movie made of Super Mario, which they never tried to do with Ronald McDonald. The closest we ever got was Mac and Me.
Yeah.
For those of you who are curious, we covered that in a much earlier installment of the podcast,
Episode 5.
episode 5. Like a season ago. I think we're on the second season by now. Maybe depending on how we're breaking them up.
Yeah. Maybe we want to do pre-COVID is season 1, post-COVID is season 2, and this is the interregnum. Is that the right word?
Yeah, this is kind of well, we don't know how long season 2 is going to be. It could be a very long season of radio.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that this is not actually season 2. This is the special like bonus.
This is
Bonus
this is
stuff.
the holiday special when they're off season.
Yeah.
Like the episodes that get burned off in the summer.
Yeah.
After they got canceled.
And then there's another holiday special, and then another one, and another one. I was like, can we move on?
It's like the world has become the Star Wars holiday special, and it's never going to end. We have a masturbating Wookiee as the president, and God, did you ever watch the Star Wars holiday special?
Of course, I've introduced like probably a half dozen people to it.
But yeah, any scene where it's like Chewbacca's grandpa and he's just shaking under the desk and they don't move the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that was basically my sex ed as a kid. No, but seriously, this is should we go over the plot?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the plot's important.
So you got two plumbers. Their names are Mario and Luigi. They got that much right. Mario is played by Bob Hoskins. Luigi is played by John Leguizamo. There's a universe where all people evolved from dinosaurs, paralleling our own universe where people evolved from monkeys, or apes, I suppose, and those damn dirty apes, right? And somehow Dennis Hopper evolved from a dinosaur dinosaur, which would explain a lot. And he's like the president in the dinosaur dimension, and he wants to merge the dinosaur dimension with our dimension because apparently they fucked up the environment in the dinosaur dimension. And he wants, like, he wants to fuck up our planet. And then Luigi goes on a date with this woman who is named Daisy, and she digs up dinosaur bones for a living. And it just so happens that the place where she's digging dinosaur bones is the exact place where the interdimensional portal to the dinosaur universe is. And she also happens to have the last rock thing that triggers the interdimensional portal around her neck because she was dropped in our dimension from the dinosaur dimension 20 years earlier, which we see in a flashback at the beginning of the movie with a lot of religious imagery. And
that's just the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Pretty much. And so they go on an adventure to stop the dinosaur universe from merging with our universe and stop Dennis Hopper from doing too much cocaine. But it's too late because Dennis Hopper already did too much cocaine.
Yeah. Well, they succeeded. Spoiler, they succeeded at one of those things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little references to the video games and a lot of things that make literally no sense. A lot of special effects that would have been great in a horror movie. There's a lot of things that would have been good in some other movie, but not this one. But they're all in this movie, and they try to make the best of it.
They did?
Well, at least the special effects and the like set design people, I think, put in
a
lot of work that, if somebody had given David Lynch final cut on this, we could have, it would have looked basically like Inland Empire, but they didn't. And we ended up with the Super Mario Brothers movie, and it's almost 2 hours long.
Oh, wow.
It was an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay. All right. That was a lot of that. There was a lot of that to sit through.
It's an elephant with diarrhea movie.
Oh, where'd that come from?
Oh, that's a thing. I'm not going to say who, but somebody who was in the position to grade English papers, when they get like a really long paper that wasn't any good, they'd call it an elephant with diarrhea because it's shit and there's a lot of it.
Yeah, that's what this movie was. I'll grant you that.
Yeah, it's not like we knew that going in. Like, this has a pretty awful reputation. Everyone involved with it has basically denounced it. And if it weren't for the world becoming stupid in many of the ways that this movie is stupid, I think it probably would have been forgotten. But honestly, it has a more positive reputation now than it has ever had before. There's a website entirely devoted to compiling interviews and weird ephemera relating to this movie.
Yeah, I started looking at this and glancing. Can you explain it to me? I'm just trying to understand the site.
I haven't spent a lot of time on the website, so I've been wanting to see this movie for a long time just because I've spent most of quarantine playing different Super Mario games and watching television because I'm exercising I'm doing my patriotic duty to not go outside and kill people. And yeah, so there was a great episode on the YouTube channel Gaming Historian going into basically everything that went wrong during the production of this. I recommend it highly. Pretty much any trivia or stuff that I'm going to cite during this episode, I'm just presuming that Gaming Historian did his homework and hoping for the best. And he's usually pretty reliable. But yeah, go check that out if after you're done listening to this, if you want, like, kind of just like, why did this happen?
What's it called again?
It's called Gaming Historian is the name of the channel, or The Gaming Historian.
Okay.
And I can send a link at some point to the video.
Okay.
It's a 25-minute video. And so we have the pod guesting from the other room. No, hopefully that's not picking up on that. Somebody's 97 years old. I can't focus on anything. Anyway, so this came out in 1993, which is a year after Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo came out. So the Mario canon up to that point would be Donkey Kong. The first game that he shows up in is the original arcade Donkey Kong. The next one is the arcade Mario Brothers, which is the one where you're doing pretty much the same level over and over again with the two pipes on the top. It's a game that you go into if you hit select twice on the opening screen of Super Mario 3 for NES.
Okay.
Super Mario Brothers, which for the NES and Famicom, which single-handedly saved the home gaming industry after Atari kind of shit on everything with that horrible E.T. video game. And the second Super Mario Brothers, which actually wasn't a Super Mario Brothers game, except for the actual second Super Mario Brothers game that was released in Japan, was deemed to be way too hard for US audiences, so they just repackaged a different game and called it Super Mario Brothers 2. And then Super Mario Brothers 3, which is one of the greatest games ever made, probably the best-selling game besides Super Mario Duck Hunt on the NES. And I've one of the few games I've actually played through all the way, and Ron has also played through it.
Yep.
And then I think because Super Mario World was a pack-in with the Super Nintendo, so that definitely was released at that point. And they take little bits and pieces of all of those and just add a lot of stuff that looks sort of like jizzy cobwebs just all over everything. And
the college fungus, they give it
right, trust the fungus, Mario. And they pay a lot of very skilled, very professional actors to scream the word plumbers over and over again. A good third of the movie is just people screaming plumbers.
Plumbers is considered some sort of, I don't know if it's an invective or just it's a lower class of people. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
An insult, a negative role.
Every time that someone screams it in the universe of the movie, you get the sense it's not the first time they've screamed it, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin untangling this?
Sorry, I turned the fan off because I was worried about it making a sound, but now it's too hot in here. So I hope this doesn't make a sound, or at least anything that like gets picked up audibly. You can't hear
plumbers.
You're
such a plumber, Ron.
Did you just call me a plumber? I don't even know how to respond. No, really, I don't.
Neither did anyone in this movie.
What?
Neither did anyone in this movie.
Right. We do see a little bit of actual plumbing very early on.
We do. And we get to see Bob Hoskins do some stuff with wrenches. We find out that Luigi doesn't have a lot of social skills, but Mario is a complete pimp with the ladies.
Mm-hmm. We learn that Luigi's last name is Mario.
And Mario's last name, therefore, is Mario. So his name is Mario, which is only slightly more awkward than Luigi Mario.
Mario and his brother Luigi Mario.
And their parents abandoned them at a young age, clearly not caring about them very much, given the fact that Mario, they couldn't even come up with a second name. Also, it kind of calls into question whether they're actually Italian, because I don't believe Mario is a traditional Italian last name.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of anybody with the last name Mario.
Oh, last name. Yeah, okay.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, though, that is from the games, because Dr. Mario, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless it's like a Dr. Drew, Dr. Oz thing, usually you don't call a doctor by their first name.
Yeah.
So, ergo, Mario's last name was Mario, according to the Dr. Mario video game, if we're being like super.
Oh, okay. I was taking it as a Dr. Drew, Dr. Phil kind of Judge Judy.
That's how I took it, but I guess so who was this movie made for? Because there's a lot of like horrifying imagery that again would not be out of place in a David Lynch movie. there's a lot of like family friendly, I'm making air quotes right now, family friendly action adventure sequences. It's basically what if Theodore Rex fucked Blade Runner.
Oh God. And yeah, exactly.
And then they just like they just set an improv troupe loose with the suggestion word Super Mario Brothers, which is 3 words, but
This movie makes Theodore Rex watchable.
yeah, this is a worse movie, and it cost 5 times as much as Theodore Rex and has a much better cast. Like John Laurie is in this. This is like John Laurie had made Do the Right, or he didn't make, but he'd been in Do the Right Thing in multiple Jim Jarmusch movies, including Down by Law at that point. And in this movie, he's playing Dennis Hopper's dumb cousin who's made smart by like one of those things that you put your head under at the hairdressers.
A really big one.
Yeah, and apparently the only oh god, what's the word that he uses for fat? Like apparently it's one of those things where they think as soon as you get smart, corpulent, yeah, like apparently smart in the dinosaur universe is the equivalent of that episode of The Simpsons where Homer thinks he's going to get skinny, but he just learns a lot of fancy words for fat because they just sent him a tape of a French English dictionary to listen to at night. Except for there's like a very weird, like the Dennis Hopper, aka King Koopa's cousins go full Marxist at the end of the movie and start preaching his downfall at Bullet Bill's Cafe, where Big Bertha the bouncer works. And apparently the only place that anyone goes to in this universe outside of King Koopa Tower, which I should note is clearly modeled on Trump Tower. Like, I'm pretty sure if they were going to model a building, right, because that's the only building in Manhattan that has like the guy's name clearly split, like just plastered on it.
Okay.
Parts of the King Koopa character, like, and not really overtly, but parts of it had to be based on Donald Trump's public persona at that point in time.
Let's see, what year did this come out? 93?
Yeah, 93. Yeah. So he'd been in the public eye for a long time at that point.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have like an image of kind of like malignant New York City wealth, he was usually what people were riffing on.
And was he a real estate guy?
In 93? Yeah.
No, the bad guy in this. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, no, I don't think so. But he has the Koopa Tower, which I think the fact that they call it the Koopa Tower, it's in New York City. It's built very similarly. It's just kind of a generic skyscraper, very much like the Trump Towers on the side of Manhattan.
Well, why did he have the Scapellis? Okay, just plot detail. There's the woman who turns out to be Princess Daisy, who is doing the excavation. The Scapelli is the name of the rival plumbing company, right?
Well, I think they're just general contractors, right? Because they're trying to get access to the land.
Okay, so that's what I was. They were trying to get.
So he does that, and they're the ones that are like working, or everything they're doing is helping King Koopa break the 2 dimensions together. So King Koopa does sort of have like ties to the mob, ties to real estate, like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You could see Scapelli almost as like the Michael Cohen figure here, or not Michael Cohen. I mean Roy Cohn.
Roy Cohn. All right.
Right, and the Michael Cohen figure is probably like John Laurie's character or something. Like Michael Cohen was never. Oh my God, that guy's such a dingbat. But
Michael Cohen or John Laurie?
Michael Cohen. No, John Laurie. John Laurie made Fishing with John. I love that show. Do you ever watch any of that?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's like a fake fishing show. He just like goes on a boat and it's improvised. There's only 6 episodes. Probably the strangest one is it's just John Laurie and Tom Waits out fishing for half an hour, and Tom Waits gets to just kind of pretend his insane pirate persona is real. And it's hard to describe, but it's worth a look.
Okay.
And I think Criterion released the whole series at some point because it's only 6 half-hour episodes, so it's super short.
I didn't even know that John Laurie had a name. I just knew him as guy that shows up in all those movies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think he was in Oz for a couple episodes, and he was a jazz musician, I think, before he was with the Lounge Lizards before he was acting.
Hmm.
Because Jarmusch kind of took most of his actors. Like, he was one of the first guys who was intentionally using musicians instead of professional actors.
Okay.
Him and who's the guy who did Repo Man, Alex Cox.
No, I didn't realize that. I didn't
Yeah,
know a lot of things.
yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. But anyway, yeah, so he has maybe the worst haircut in a movie full of really bad haircuts. I don't know, who would you say has the worst haircut in this movie?
See, he has that sort of longish mohawky thing, right?
Yeah, and he's got like the sides are shaved, and he's got that really horrible like pencil mustache that goes all the way around.
Well, there's King Koopa, who has that weird dinosaur reddish orange hair.
Right, he just looks like an old lady who like the hair curlers evolved into his skull.
Yeah, his doesn't look like a hairstyle. It looks like there's some things like just awry. Like something fused with something that it shouldn't have.
Yeah, it's like if like normal humans are smooth potato chips, he's the kind with the ridges.
Yeah, yeah. And the kind with the ridges never existed until this movie.
It never existed again.
It never existed again. Ah, thank God. But apparently
Yeah.
there's a whole group of people dedicated to the memory of that time.
And I have to say, as far as bad movies with great actors playing like the villain in them, I would still put this over Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, where Robert De Niro's playing fearless leader. Because that movie was, because I guess like Rocky and Bullwinkle, there is a good movie that could theoretically be made out of that. It's never happened, but it could happen. Super Mario Brothers, just it's like in a video game, it's brilliant because it's all plot contrivances based around what makes a more fun video game. But then you try to transfer that into a narrative sphere, and you end up with this. Although I think aesthetically this is a really fascinating movie in that it's like all the like dystopian future, or like the kind of extremely low end lazy dystopian future stuff, or not even really necessarily low end, just like the idea of dystopian future, or the aesthetic of it from the 80s, hence the Blade Runner reference. I mean, there's not a lot of Brazil in here, but that's sort of like everything looks dirty, everything just sort of looks like sped up urban decay kind of feel. There's definitely way more Blade Runner. But then also mixed with that 90s, like, we're all living in a bad Windows 95 screensaver thing that you don't start to see until like Lawnmower Man 2. There's definitely other movies like that where it's like, oh, we're in cyberspace, and cyberspace looks like, when nobody's touched the mouse for a while.
Wait,
yeah. Huh?
Oh, so I'm confused. What are you saying about that with respect? What are you saying about that with respect to this movie?
Well, I guess it's sort of the transition point between those two things, right? Like it, and especially because the people who directed this directed the Max Headroom movie. That's why, that's the only other thing they directed that and a bunch of music videos. This was the first big budget movie they were ever given, and so directing the Max Headroom movie, also known as 20 Minutes into the Future, they kind of establish a lot of what the 80s sci-fi dystopia looks like in that movie, and then they kind of get to stick a stake through it and kill it once and for all with this movie. And then they never got work again after this movie. So,
but their sensibilities live on.
I guess so. Like Vaporwave, Vaporwave, a lot of that is based around sort of retro futurism.
What's Vaporwave?
Vaporwave is, I guess, an art movement that was mostly based on the internet. There's like a bunch of different components to it. I think the most, the visual and musical components of it are the most well known. The music is mostly just samples of like smooth jazz and background music for malls, because malls could purchase like these giant loops of background music, looped very repetitively in a way that's supposed to be kind of trancy, but is supposed to evoke this sort of sad nostalgia. And then the videos around it, again, are based around kind of GIF-like loops that try to bring out this inherent sadness in disposable popular culture. So, like, one of the offshoots of Vaporwave was called Simpsons Wave. And you can look this up on YouTube. If you just look up Simpsons Wave, there's like hours upon hours of this stuff. And it's just VHS artifacting and fucking with like old Simpsons clips. And they try to take the shortest or not the short, but like a 2 to 3 second Simpsons clip of, I don't know, like Bart looking upset on his bed, and then they just kind of loop that with like a purple filter for 3 minutes or something. Jazz cups, they're obsessed with basically like the kind of the hollowness of the 90s as looked at through the prism of now.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the people making this stuff, they're my age or younger. I think a lot of it comes from this sort of weird, like, half remember, because the 90s were, I think the 90s were the last like decade where people were genuinely optimistic about the future of humanity in the United States, because 9/11 kind of marks the beginning of the end. And I could get into like 9/11 was probably the single most successful military attack in human history, but
I'm sorry, I'm already trying to imagine, how did we get here from Dennis Hopper's hair? Which I think we still haven't like adequately described.
Yeah, I mean, his hair is it's like a couple French crullers were glued to his head in like a really geometrically not pleasing arrangement. With glaze, like the glaze is still on them. But no, so the 90s, the 90s, like looking back at them now, they look, any kind of like artifacts from then, like as a guy who's collected a lot of random VHS tapes just because I wanted to see what, as a man who has owned more than one video fireplace VHS tape in his life, it's fun to go back and just sort of look at this like surreal triumphalism that wasn't based in anything, right? Like, it all looks so stupid now, but I can remember being a kid in the 90s and this stuff seeming like very convincing. Like, my dad would talk about like, oh, well, you look at life expectancy curves and they just keep going up. Someday we're all going to live forever, or like the real estate market's never going to go down. Like this, or Francis Fukuyama, the end of history. He's basically saying that the United States won the world politics question, and the only question after that is, what do we all do when we're bored because we won? And that was like assigned reading up to when I was in college. I had a guy in Dov Waxman, who was in the Baruch College poli-sci department, and had worked as part of the George W. Bush cabinet before, or not like cabinet, but like he wasn't in the cabinet, but he was an official working in some capacity under somebody in the cabinet during the W. Bush administration.
Right.
And he was strongly suggesting we read this Francis Fukuyama book that basically just said, yes, the U.S. won the culture war, communism lost, which now seems insane, right? Because like the end game of capitalism, it turns out, doesn't really look that different than the end game of communism. You end up with a lot of buildings that look very similar. A small group of people own all the crap, and you end up with a giant clusterfuck. Nobody's actually come up with the answer. And I think like people around the age of, between the ages of, let's say, like 25 to 35 right now have some very complicated feelings about the 1990s, that a lot of them came through in Vaporwave, and a lot of the stuff that seems like when it turns out the kind of promise of an age is hollow, the things that looked stupid at the time seem more honest in retrospect.
Wait, say that again?
So when it turned out kind of the promise of an age rung rung hollow. The things that seem stupid seem more honest in retrospect, right? Like the most acclaimed movies of the 1990s now seem about as dumb as like American Beauty is a movie that's about as dumb as Super Mario Brothers. That got the Best Picture Oscar, and everybody was like, wow, that's so deep that like a guy would be unhappy with a like bunch of money and a middle class existence, and all he wants is, you know, to fuck teenage girls and work at a Burger King. Right. And of course, like given what happened with Kevin Spacey later, that movie actually seems a little bit prescient. So maybe, but I don't know. I watched American Beauty like 3 years ago, and that's like literally one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
You hate it that much?
Oh my God. Every single shot in that is just actively offensive. And it thinks it's so smart too. Like what is it? Like the girl's got the drug dealer boyfriend, and he's just copying this shot that's in like 15 different avant-garde movies, and of like a balloon going by, and he's like, that balloon is so beautiful, man. It's like, and you know, and is that a thing somebody would do? Sure. Is it a thing that we should be like underlining as if it was poetry we came up with? No.
They perfected it.
Right. It's just but yeah, you kind of see in a movie like Super Mario Brothers, there's not a lot of bullshit between the filmmakers and the fact that what they're making is bullshit. And that's a weird sort of honesty.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and I think also like a terrible movie like this, it's very easy to chop up surreal tiny moments of it into repeated clips. So like internet culture is much better suited to chop up and digest this than, you know, people in 1993 who were paying $10 to sit through it for 2 hours. Whereas if somebody's encountering the Super Mario Brothers movie now, they're probably encountering it in like 2-second GIF chunks or like random images,
or by going to the website. By going to the website for the site and reading all about it for this movie. The website.
Yeah.
Which I started doing.
Yeah, and the 90s were a great time for terrible movies. That's when Milk Money got made. You know, Milk Money just wasn't just made. Milk Money was actually the most expensive screenplay a studio had ever bought ever up to that point.
Are you serious?
Serious, yeah. It was they paid $750,000 for the script to Milk Money, the movie about Ed Harris's kids getting a hooker for him.
Wow. So that's what you have to write in order to make the big bucks as a writer.
Yeah, they want your soul. They, you know.
Hey, for $750,000, they can have my soul.
Yeah, $750,000. Like I'll write. You know, I'm bald. I can dream about. You know,
man,
God, that's such a terrible movie.
Dan, this movie fried my brain. I'm at a total loss of what just happened in the last 2 hours, or however many hours ago that was.
Yeah, that was.
I'm just mesmerized that this got made. Like, yeah, I really want. The thing that I don't understand most of all is who's the audience for this. Who did they think they were making this for?
And so I guess now would be a time to go into some of the behind the scenes trivia. So this movie. Nintendo has never had a film division. They're probably the largest entertainment company in the world to never have a dedicated films division.
Okay.
And so they were just sort of, somebody shopped the idea of like, let's make a Super Mario Brothers movie. On paper, it kind of makes sense, right? Like you just sold, 100 million whatever copies of this video game. Oh, thank you. The podcast just gave me a mud shake.
Hi, podcast.
Well, don't keep it. Just try it.
Oh.
Hi.
What is it?
Does that mean you don't like it?
No, it's good. It's what. Can I have one?
You want one?
I would like one. I have a glass if you.
Oh, okay. I have to blend again.
She's blending again.
That sounds lovely.
It's kind of hot.
It's a tropical.
Here, you should see this.
I call it sea foam.
It looks like mint Oreo cookies.
Are you having a bad hair day again?
What's in it?
No, I went outside.
Oh, you went outside.
When I tied, so I put my hair up under the hat, and now I have hat hair.
So you're just rolling with it.
Yeah. Once the hat goes on, it doesn't really come off because I don't like hat hair.
That's real.
Is
But
that
I
why
put it on-
Super Mario always wears a hat?
What was that?
Is that why Super Mario always wears a hat?
Yeah, he doesn't like his hat hair. He has beautiful, like, flowing mane,
Ah,
Just like Bob Hoskins.
just like Bob Hoskins.
I mean, I have to say the actors, like, given what they were given, did a pretty good job in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, because they were given money. They weren't given a script, but they were given lots of money.
Yeah, they were making some effort. Actually, yeah. So Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo, I think were both giving not the worst acting of their career.
Yeah, I mean, they like...
Dennis Hopper was a little understated.
Yeah, especially given the role.
Yeah.
We needed... Somebody needed to put, like, an inflatable sex doll right off screen to bring out the best in Mr. Hopper. Oh, man, River's Edge. We should do that one at some point. I haven't seen that in way too long.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
You never saw River's Edge?
No.
Oh, my God. Okay, so it's like Dennis Hopper, Keanu Reeves, and Crispin Glover right after Blue Velvet came out. So this is, like, the peak of Dennis Hopper's bankability as just, like, that fucking crazy guy.
Okay.
And, yeah, they, like, find a dead body by a river and then don't know what to do about it. And then Crispin Glover gets to act crazy like Crispin Glover. And they're kind of like these kids, they're Boo Radley figure, the guy who, like, never leaves his house, is Dennis Hopper, who's in a committed emotional relationship with an actual, like, inflatable $20 blow-up doll. It's amazing.
What is it called?
River's Edge.
River's Edge.
Like 87, I think it came out.
Okay. Watch that.
Yeah, that's like that's such, I don't know if it's it's a decent movie. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie, but it's a movie with a lot of just sort of great things coming together at the same time, right? It's like a pizza where all the flavors don't necessarily complement each other, but they're all good flavors.
Uh-huh.
And it's still worth, like, chewing on it a bit.
Mm.
Yeah, so Super Mario Brothers, the movie. I mean, you actually remember 1993. I was 4 years old. So what in 1993 would make this make sense, or does it exist outside of time?
Well, that was the year that we discovered a parallel dimension in which dinosaurs evolved into bipedal human-looking creatures. So that was sort of like top of mind in 93.
That's true. And there's because I think 93 is when Theodore Rex came out, I think. 90, because I know Jurassic Park came out about 3 to 4 months after the Super Mario Brothers movie dropped. And, you know, they both involve dinosaurs crossing over with humans. I'm not a huge fan of Jurassic Park, but I can recognize that it's a much better made movie than Super Mario Brothers. You know, I'm not that much of a hater, but
yeah, Jurassic Park was 93. Theodore Rex was 95.
Oh, okay. So Theodore Rex was like the crest of the wave.
Yeah.
Or the foamy bubbling thing that ends up on the shore.
They all have an ecological component to their message.
That's true. Yeah, I have to say, like, this is a movie that engages with climate change, Marxism, why it's not wise to dig giant holes in the ground for no reason. This, like, hits a lot of hot button issues before they were, you know, hot, and it's still, I mean, I remarked to you while we were watching the movie that like, this movie has only become more relevant over time because reality has gotten dumber. Like, reality is meeting the Super Mario Brothers movie halfway.
Uh-huh.
And that should horrify all of you.
And it's saying I'll meet you halfway, and Super Mario Brothers is saying, like, yeah, okay, halfway, come over.
Right. Right. I mean, I haven't left the house in a couple of weeks. Like, for all I know, when I walk outside the house, everything's going to be covered in some kind of cross between cobwebs and jizz. And, you know, everybody's going to be wearing giant spikes on all their clothing.
Oh, so you have been outside.
Well, I didn't need to because I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, right. That was the window into our world and our window into our souls.
Yeah, and I mean, there were parts of it that were very true to the spirit because the video games are not. They're pretty like Nintendo's always been into very weird, ridiculous plot twists. Like I'm trying to beat Mario 64, and I was playing some of that today, and I hit the second boss in the game, which is a giant piece of like paving stone with band-aids on its back, and before you can attack it, it gives this long monologue about like all of the building materials are going on strike because they're sick of us stepping on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you have to beat them by stepping on them a couple times, so we know which side Nintendo's on. But that wouldn't have been that out of place in this movie. Although at the same time, it's like it's within a video game, right? Because you're playing it, so something ridiculous like that happens, and it's added entertainment value. It's like gravy. You're not really expecting that to carry the experience.
Okay.
Here, it's sort of like if you just had a plate full of gravy with no turkey, and you're just trying to eat it.
That's disgusting.
Right, and that's this movie.
Oh.
Maybe that's what all that stuff on all the buildings was just congealed
That's
gravy.
all that gravy. Yeah. He was saying fungus. And like, no, that's all gravy. Yeah.
Yeah, because like my expectations were so low. The two things that disappointed me the most in this movie is nobody actually jumps on anybody's head. Nobody actually eats a mushroom.
No, there's that one head kick that comes like ever so close.
Right.
But it doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. And I'm sorry, Dan. That's what you were really looking forward to, was the head jump or the dropping on the head. So I'm sorry. Dan is making some very, very sad faces.
I'm playing the world's smallest violin just for me.
For yourself. That's one.
But yeah, but this is also the beginning of, honestly, this is one of the better video game movies I have seen. Most video games have an earned reputation for being unbelievably terrible. For a while, the man known as the world's worst director, probably correctly, Hugh Boll, he only directed video game movies because those were the only people that would hire him. And he was getting reviews that were so bad that he actually challenged people who wrote bad reviews or like talk shit about him on the internet to a boxing match, and somebody took him up on that. And there's some very funny footage of this boxing match between Hugh Boll and an internet hater.
Who won?
I think Hugh Boll won. He's in pretty good physical. He's a better boxer than a filmmaker.
Okay.
No, I mean, he's probably better at a lot of things than he is at making movies. Somehow they keep handing him money to make movies. Because I guess they just don't like, until the idea that a video game movie would be watchable in any way, shape, or form is maybe that's only become a thing in the last 2 years. Like Detective Pikachu was very watchable.
Okay. That's
right?
Setting the bar really low. Is it watchable?
Yeah, and like Sonic the Hedgehog, from everything I've heard, was pretty watchable.
Okay.
And by the terms of the genre, if all movies were video game movies, then your Citizen Kane is Detective Pikachu, I guess. With like all the lessons they've learned over 27 years put together, and it kind of moves like a movie.
Okay. Any other good ones?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So it's really Detective Pikachu and the rest.
Pretty much, yeah.
This one came out a very different color, but I think it's because there were more strawberries.
Ooh, there's strawberries in this boozy sea juice.
Let me know how it is. I mean, in theory, it's supposed to be the same thing, but...
This is at least 10 times better than the movie we just watched. Thank you, Podguest, for this delicious drink.
You're welcome. It's like so ugly compared to mine.
I mean, it's like boozy. It's like
tropical smoothie.
Yeah, it tastes like one of those things that's sort of like a cocktail they give you at a bar mitzvah when you're underage, but with actual booze in it. I'm enjoying this.
Like a pina colada?
Yeah, but it's like the booze is masked so well that it tastes like a virgin pina colada.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a master mixologist.
Yeah, well, she's getting good at that. I'm getting good at playing video games. Let's see if that's useful to the next Great Depression.
I'm getting good at watching movies.
You were always good at that, Ron.
Yeah. Okay, I guess some things don't change. You can't improve on perfection.
I mean, I'm just kind of hoping that we get out of quarantine and the new world economy revolves around movie podcasts, right? Like I wake up one morning, it's like that Ren and Stimpy episode where cat hairballs become worth more than gold.
Uh-huh.
And Ren just has like Stimpy lick himself to death, like making money.
Uh-huh.
And I'm ready to just, like dump a lot of cast on the world, you know.
We got on this just in time. Just
That big bucks.
we got in here just in time to kind of build up a small fortune.
Right. I mean, we're gonna have. I mean, if you're listening to this now, you're stuck in your house. You live alone. This is probably the most human interaction you've had in weeks, if not months. By the time this gets posted, so think of us like we were your real friends. Maybe like draw a face on a beach ball and pretend that it's Ron.
No, Dan, that's not going to work because the people that you're talking to right now are me.
We have more listeners. There's at least like 2 people that listen to this.
No. The people.
And I have a beach ball that I've named Ron.
What was that?
And I have a beach ball that I've named Ron.
Yeah, but so do I.
Well,
I've got a beach ball that I've named Ron. I've got a tennis ball that I've named Ron. I've got a foosball that I've named Ron.
Oh man, so you got like a whole family.
I've got a whole family of Rons
settling down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure what to say about this movie. I mean, it made Theodore Rex look like a winner.
Oh, maybe we can talk about the video game a little bit then. Like, when was the first time? Because you were actually alive when Super Mario Brothers came out. Unlike some of us in the room. Well,
Yes,
I guess none of us are in the room because there's like 2 different rooms right now. Well, there's 3 different rooms because there's the listener, presumably.
The list. Oh, right. Because I'm in one city, you're in another city, and the listener is who knows where.
So when was the first time you ever encountered Super Mario Brothers?
Which is the one that we decided I finished? Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers 3?
It's definitely 3.
It was 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it had an overworld map.
Yeah.
That's definitely 3.
That's 3. Okay. Well, I mean, I remember Donkey Kong when it was in the arcade. So I remember it was like my friend's birthday party at Farrell's. Farrell's was this ice cream parlor chain that had food too, but it had like a whole bunch of different flavors of ice cream, and you had birthday parties there, ice cream themed birthday parties. But they had a big arcade in there, and I remember at somebody's birthday party, a few of us standing there watching somebody go to a level of Donkey Kong that had like a pie factory or something like that.
Oh yeah, the fourth level.
Oh, the fourth. Oh no, then it was higher than.
Oh, okay. It's like higher because the third level is usually where you die in the arcade because it's got that spring loading thing at the top. Like I've never beaten that on a real arcade machine. I've beaten that on MAME.
Oh.
But like it took me a really long time. Most people die after the third level in the original Donkey Kong, and there's a whole segment on that in King of Kong Fistful of Quarters, that movie about the 2 guys fighting over the Donkey Kong high score.
Yeah. I saw that a while back. Oh, I don't remember. Oh, I should watch it again to learn about.
Yeah, that's the best video game movie ever made. Like, honestly, I would say King of Kong is by far the best movie that about or involving or having to do with video games.
A movie about people playing video games.
Yeah, I mean,
the world of the game.
And I have been to Fun Spot where they shot that, and that place is amazing. Whenever we get out of here, we should take a road trip to Fun Spot because it's only like 2 hours away.
Okay.
It's the largest arcade in the world.
Oh, cool.
They got like 300 arcade machines, and it's like dirt cheap.
And like at 25 cents a game?
Yep, for the older machines, which is most of them.
Damn. Oh, that's cool. All right. Yeah, let's go up there.
And they have a complete indoor mini golf course. It's it's the best place on earth. We Liz and I got a hotel out there, and we just like spent God knows how much time just hanging out. They have 8 different variations of Pac-Man. That's where they record all the world records. That's where the Twin Galaxies organization operates out of, because for the records you need to have access to original arcade hardware, because otherwise you can't you can't compare it because there's certain ways that MAME runs that's different than actual arcade hardware. So if you're going to set a world record, usually you have to fly out to New Hampshire and just kind of sit in front of a machine in this place for however long.
Until it's your turn?
Yeah, and that's the end of King of Kong. That's where he's playing Donkey Kong, and there's all the people like standing around him.
Okay. But wait, but the thing that I got out of this was that you and Elizabeth went out there and spent the night in a hotel room just so you could be around a bunch of video games and a golf course and a putt-putt course.
Well, I mean, we hung out in other parts of it, but there's not a whole lot. It's in Weir's Beach, and it was off season, so like you couldn't go to the beach. But why do you need to go to the beach? Because this place is literally like it's 2 full levels. And from the outside, it just looks like a BJ's wholesale warehouse or something. Like it's the most nondescript building. But yeah, I think I bought like $25 worth of tokens. There's a little place with craft beer in the downstairs. There's a full bowling alley in the downstairs. It's like if you had like a lot of money and like a slight case. I mean, it's like Neverland Ranch without the child molestation. It's amazing.
That's how entertainment is categorized
in my head. There's but no, yeah, it's great. They have the big machines that you'd expect to be in an arcade like that. It's mostly older stuff, so you're not going to see like Mario Kart Arcade GP, or like you're not going to see a lot of like newer machines that are have fancy cockpits and stuff. They have the world's largest pinball machine at the entrance, which is like 5 times the size of any other pinball machine I've ever played in my life. It's called the Hercules, and the pinball inside the machine is like about the size of a softball.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's insane.
Oh, that sounds cool.
They have the world's first arcade machine, which looks kind of like those like weird nautical themed garbage cans on Jones Beach in Long Island. I can send you a picture. It's like a really weirdly designed object.
What game was this?
It's a variation on Asteroids. It's the first ever coin-op machine.
Okay.
So it's not the first ever video game, but it's the first video game that took quarters, because there were actually home Pong machines before there were coin-op arcade machines.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And actually the first ever console that Nintendo released was a Pong machine that was only released in Japan, called the TV Game 6. And it's a pretty generic looking. I mean, you've seen a Pong unit before, right? It's just like a bar.
Oh, yeah.
It's got 2 little toggle thingies. Yeah. That place is awesome. But so you saw, so you see somebody playing Donkey Kong at this birthday party. Everybody's like crowded around him to see this level that nobody can get to.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Maybe
that was it. Maybe that was level 4. Wait, so when you say, so the 3 levels before that, is each one of them just composed of a whole bunch of like sub levels within, or just like, no, you climb up one, you climb up the second, you climb up the third, everybody dies at that point?
You're talking about level 3 of Donkey Kong?
Yeah, because you said that the pie, what I remember is the Pie Factory.
Yeah, so the Pie Factory is after that one. So the third level is the one where you have it's like a bunch of thin platforms. There's kind of an elevator going up between each of them. You get to the top floor, and there's this spring that's bouncing on it at even intervals, and you have to get past the spring in order to get to the print, or Pauline is her name in the game, and you have to time it basically perfectly between like being right directly under this spring when it's at the exact apex of where it bounces, or else you die.
Okay.
And it's pretty difficult.
Okay, so that would explain maybe why I really what seemed like this level that was super high up was actually just level 4.
I mean, it could have been a later level.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have never played through all the levels in the MAME Donkey Kong, or I mean not MAME, I mean arcade Donkey Kong.
Yeah. No, I mean I barely made it. Like up the first frame. Oh, that's what I was asking. So
Mhm.
does a level, what constitutes a level? Is it is there a series of tiers within each level, or is like, no?
So
each
usually
level-
in those games you would call it, I mean, in a Super Mario game they call it a world, but
Mhm.
a level would be any time when you go from the screen resets itself to whatever layout, you get Mario to Pauline or Donkey Kong, and then it resets and that's a new level.
Okay.
So, or like in Super Mario Brothers, it would be anytime you jump on the flag and then the map resets to whatever the next thing is. And that would constitute a level. If there's a set of levels that are clumped together, you would call that either a board or a world. And so a board would be like, if the levels are labeled like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, and then it resets to 2-1 or something, like in Game Boy Donkey Kong. I think it's like usually 6 to 8 like mini levels.
Uh-huh.
And Game Boy Donkey Kong is like amazing. It's like a puzzle game kind of. It's got a lot of the elements of the original Donkey Kong, but it's like probably my favorite Game Boy game, period.
Uh-huh.
Just like a great little puzzle game. But yeah, every time you go through, or like Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers, every 4 levels that you beat, you enter the next world.
Right.
And then the 4th level is always the one where you have to take out Bowser, or you have to jump on that like axe thing and make the platform disappear under
Okay.
Bowser.
I'm trying to picture anything in Donkey Kong other than that initial screen. That's all I can remember. That's all I can remember is that and the Pie Factory, and the few of us standing around watching the guy playing Donkey
I mean,
Kong.
most of those early arcade games, they don't really have more than 5 or 6 actual levels, and it keeps so like Burger Time. You ever played Burger Time, where
Yep.
you're like stepping on the hamburgers?
Yep.
Right, and there's only actually 6 levels to that to quote unquote beat it or get to the. Basically, in ancient arcade hardware, the only way you can quote unquote beat it is to break the machine. Which is not to say like actually breaking it permanently, but like the Donkey Kong thing, they hit what they call in the movie King of Kong. They're always hitting the kill screen, which is basically the point when the computer can't handle the speed of the game and the program crashes.
Oh, neat.
But within actual Donkey Kong, it's not like there's 256 completely distinct levels in there. You're just sort of playing through, Burger Time, there's only 6 levels there, but you can play up to 256 levels because it just keeps cycling through each of them at a higher speed.
Faster.
Yeah, so in case anybody listening was wondering about old arcade machines, that's how they do it.
I played Donkey Kong Jr.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Donkey Kong Jr. was fun. I liked that better than Donkey Kong. I got to play both.
And they have both of them at Fun Spot.
Do they really?
Yep. Yeah, they got like 3 different Donkey Kong machines.
Oh, I'd go there to play Donkey Kong Jr. maybe.
They got like every classic, so the Fun Spot guy. So there was a video game market crash in like 1983, 1984, right, when the Atari released ET, and everybody was just sort of like, oh man, these video games are super expensive and a lot of it's garbage, and everybody just got pissed at video games for like a year or 2. To the point where a lot of these places that were making a bunch of money on arcade machines just literally started throwing out the arcade machines because they weren't making money on them anymore. And the guy who owns Fun Spot went around with like a pickup truck picking these things up out of dumpsters basically for a year and a half. That's why they have all these things. And that's why, this like tiny nondescript place has, I think they've got 400 something arcade machines.
Wow.
They got a decent number of pinball machines. The Pinball Museum in Asheville has more pinball machines, but Fun Spot is, I think, it's the biggest. I'm pretty sure it has the most arcade machines of any single building, definitely in the United States, probably in the world.
Do you know if they have a Superman game there?
Yeah, Superman arcade from the 80s.
Yeah.
I played it there. Yeah,
because I owe my friend a game from the let's see, I think it was the summer of 1990. Yeah, that's probably right. So I still owe him that game. So, and he lives not too far from here, so we could take a road trip out there.
Yeah, we should just get together like a group of people, like have a, you know, if the world's not going to be restarted by the time it's my birthday, but
When is that? I forget.
August.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Fun Spot's going to be open again by that point, but
yeah, we'll be lucky if it comes. They'll be lucky if it's anywhere, if they reopen anywhere close to that.
I mean, I feel like it's a humble enough operation where they're not going to go. I don't know. I just really hope that, because like the post office is probably going to go under now.
Yeah, what the hell? How do you not fund the post office?
Because they don't want anybody to vote. They think that, like, okay, if Pelosi can push through this vote by mail provision, and then the Republicans can say, like, oh, we favored the vote by mail provision, but Trump says literally he's going to veto anything that comes across his desk that includes funding for the post office, because he figures, probably correctly, because it's been the Republican playbook for, 40, 50 years at this point. If you can destroy the infrastructure to do the thing, you don't have to worry about legislating against it even.
Mhm.
And you can say, like, oh, we're all in favor of it, but the post office fucked it up.
Mhm.
Which does not bode well for the selling secondhand crap business. Or I don't know. I guess if the post office fails and shipping gets really expensive, then that could lead to an increase in that could lead to like a rise in flea markets and stuff. Because like if shipping prices get super expensive and you can actually save a decent amount of money by just showing up to a flea market and buying crap,
Mhm.
people might go back to that model, which could be fun. I kind of miss interacting with the public, kind of.
People might go to a local store to buy some pots and pans instead of ordering them on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not quite so much with staples, like home staples, not Staples, the business, but
Yeah.
just because I think this is like the pandemic is training everybody that any kind of basic home goods, they should just buy them directly off the internet.
Yeah.
But for, vintage collectibles, that's always been kind of it's a safer market than a lot of other secondhand or resale markets, just because A, it requires a certain amount of expertise. B, you're dealing with a market full of picky people. Like people that collect records are never going to buy used records off of Amazon.com because you can't trust that the person selling you the used record has any idea how to grade a record. So you could just get, you could pay full sticker price for a near mint copy and just get sent garbage. Or collectible books. You never want to buy a collectible book off Amazon because you're never going to get a picture of it, and condition is everything in those markets.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this. On the other hand, how long is it going to take for people to feel comfortable leaving their homes and gathering publicly again? Like if 72% of America says they're not going to go to a live sporting event until there's a vaccine, nobody's going to go to a flea market until there's a vaccine.
Except the diehards.
Except the real diehards, yeah.
And that's really your market, right?
That is the market. Oh my God. I was thinking about like the town that I grew up in, 70% of the economy of the entire town is the racetrack that's open for 6 weeks a year and the performing arts center near the racetrack. Both of those are going to be shut down for the entire summer. So this place is going to go from being this like rich suburb to probably looking like somewhere in Mississippi, like overnight.
Yeah. Do you know if they have any kind of cushion?
I mean, there's Skidmore College, not much of a cushion. There's a lot of like rich people from Israel and China that bought secondary vacation homes in that area. That's it.
But there's nothing to help the economy survive the next year.
Not that I know of, no.
I'm just wondering if are there surplus funds in the city?
I mean, there's like a downtown business association, but I don't think they have like emergency funds for a pandemic. They could petition the local landlords to not kick out all the downtown businesses, but then the downtown landlords, they're going to lose a ton of money.
Right.
I mean, not that I don't really feel bad bad for them because they made way too much money over the last however many years. But yeah, it's gonna look pretty.
I thought there were provisions for mortgages. Am I misremembering?
Oh, there's provisions for mortgages, yeah. So that means that like the people that own houses possibly wouldn't get dispossessed. I think given the median price of a house around there, I don't think we're dealing with people that were necessarily in danger of losing their house through mortgage issues. The bigger issue is the economy of service workers and things like that surrounding the racetrack.
Right.
Because, they don't get okay, so the bookstore that I used to work in, you break even if that for most of the year, and then you're doing gangbusters because you got all these rich people from New York City coming up for the ballet and the symphony orchestra in the summer.
Right.
You don't do that business, you don't ever make that money up. And your rent is set with the understanding that you're kind of overpaying for rent most of the year so that you have the space for this 3 months when all the business actually comes through. Yeah, like everything is based around bars and restaurants. A lot of bars that have literally there's no way you could convert these places into takeout anything.
Yeah, the coffee shop around the corner, versus the sub shop around the corner. The sub shop does deliveries. It just doesn't do take-in business anymore. I shouldn't say just doesn't do it. It's like it's lost that part of its revenue, but it still has that. The coffee shop.
I mean, pizza places they're going to suffer, but they're not going to suffer as much as
that's the coffee corner 2 doors down is closed. It's not delivering coffee. It's not delivering muffins every morning. It's just plain closed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Chinese place around the corner, they're just flat out closed. Burritos is still open, and they're offering sweet chili pizza now, so it's kind of cool.
What place?
Burritos Pizzeria, that place right around the corner.
Oh, okay. Taco Bell's delivering.
Taco Bell. Oh yeah, we're nowhere near the Taco Bell. Yeah, I mean, Saratoga, and there was this huge boom of these fancy restaurants. There was a brewery that just opened in the downtown, this thing, that thing, the other thing. All these places that are built up as these massive hangout spots where the only way you're going to do the kind of volume of business where you could maintain the infrastructure for those things is by having this giant seated standing area. They're all going to be out of business. There's no fucking way they're going to last. They're going to miss a track season and come back from that. I mean, I guess if I wanted to start a bookstore around there, now would be the time, right? Because I come back, I save my pennies, and then I'm the only guy in town left with $500.
So I'm going off in my head.
Oh, it's all good.
Politics and the government response in the face of a calamity. And let's go back to the movie.
This is the country that thought Super Mario Brothers the movie was a good idea.
Yeah.
and there's a clear line between that and now.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to make any kind of claims about American exceptionalism. We're the country that embraced Super Mario Brothers.
We're number one in coronavirus deaths. We're number one in toilet paper consumption.
And we're number one in Super Mario Brothers watching.
Yeah, definitely. We watched that live action Super Mario Brothers movie far more than any other country.
Yeah. Are we really number one in toilet paper consumption?
Oh, yeah, by a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you figure most of the world has bidets by now, so it's kind of a rigged competition. But it's 91 rolls per person per year in the U.S. Next closest is 86 in where is the second most?
No pun intended.
But yeah, it's if you're an average person in the United States, you go through 91 rolls of toilet paper per year. Toilet paper consumption by country. There we go. Let's see. CMO toilet paper consumption. This is 2018, so this is probably going to be even bigger next time I check it. But let's see. In rolls, holy shit. Okay, so toilet paper consumption in the U.S. has actually gone down substantially. So people in the United States use 12.7 kilograms or 141 rolls of toilet paper per person per year. Next closest is Germany with 134 rolls of toilet paper per year. Next is the UK with 127. And then the next closest after that is Japan with 91.
Wow. That's a
Drops
jump.
off precipitously after us, Germany, and the UK.
It's what is it? It's us, Germany, the UK.
And then Japan is fourth,
Okay.
and like US, Germany, and UK were within 20 rolls of toilet paper in 2018. Japan consumes a full 50 rolls of toilet paper less per person per year, and they're still fifth in the world.
No bidets in Germany?
Apparently not. I thought they were more into that, but
Maybe just a tiny bit more.
I guess not according to Statistica.com
Right.
to do some live sourcing.
I do remember running into too many bidets in the UK, so I can see that.
Brazil uses 38 rolls per person per year. So
What's the lowest?
they're ready for that. That was the lowest that Statistica counted. Or I guess Statistica, they're okay. This is or Statista Consumer Market Outlook thing. Here, I'll just send you the link.
So was it American exceptionalism then that created a run on toilet paper at the supermarket, or a continued run on them, or is that happening around the world?
It is. I think we're still number one. The graph that I saw that was going around on Reddit said it was 91 rolls per person in the U.S.
No, but I mean, I'm not sure what I meant. I don't remember anymore. My mind is a fog. I don't know if this movie did it. My mind may already have been in a fog. I could say that actually with near certainty.
It didn't help.
This movie? No.
Yeah.
It did not clarify anything. And it did not clarify for me still, after all this, who the audience is for this movie. Who were they playing to? Who they thought would watch it? The future. Right. As you put it earlier, the audience is us.
The audience is people who want to look back at the 90s and think, how the fuck did we end up here? Looking for hints like it was ruins, like I find that I approach like older pop culture like I was digging through, Mayan ruins or something like that. Like my mental thing is like, oh, this is the remains of a great civilization that have been tossed aside. It's like broken pottery at the fucking mat.
This is a
This is one of those Greek statues with the dick knocked off.
No, but there's more to the statue than it. But between all the dinosaur movies that came out in that era, this is the one that tells us the most about the world we live in today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I feel like this is the most out of. I mean, I did see Theodore Rex pretty recently. I haven't watched Jurassic Park in years and years, but I feel like this captures the right, because we have a cartoonish villain with like no like discernible motivations or psychological depth in the White House. There's it's not like a mastermind or something. It's just a guy with really awful blonde hair, really bad makeup, and a bunch of like dumb relatives willing to do his bidding.
Yeah.
And he surrounds himself with dinosaurs, like all the dinosaurs that we thought went extinct during the Iran-Contra hearings have risen up out of the tar pits to fuck us.
And just to underscore the point, they undergo a de-evolution, de-evolving through a de-evolving ray, a de-evolution ray.
Right. King Koopa believes in evolution, so actually this was an optimistic look at the future.
Is it the people in charge would still believe in evolution in the future?
Right. Have you noticed like nobody's arguing about evolution lately? Like that was such a hot button issue for a while, and like now everybody's just like, oh shit, we got real problems now.
Like outlawing abortion.
Right. Killing the post office so that King Koopa can make us all, can shoot us all with his de-evolve ray.
Maybe it's time to finally dissolve the Department of Education. Because as we see, there's no need for school.
Well, I feel like, yeah, and if they dissolve it, he's going to do it with a ray gun.
Yeah.
That's how he would think that would go. Good Lord. Anyway, should we sign off?
Yeah, this has gotten depressing. Although we could tell that from the beginning, that movie was not a that was not the cute cartoon movie that the video game is. This was not a cute cartoon movie.
It was still like a fun adventure movie. I mean, I feel like adventure movie or like action adventure movies to me, by and large, they're stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but this was dark.
This was pretty dark even by those standards. That's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess at least its heart was sort of in the right place in some places. It's not like it's not like a Steven Seagal movie where it's just sort of like, oh, flimsy pretense, I'm gonna kill everybody with my bare hands for the next 2 hours, or like
yeah. But I mean that you took a fun video game,
that's true,
fun, cute video game, and you turned it into something dark.
Right, and like very drab, and that was the thing. The color palette in this movie was so like not true to the video games in any way, shape, or form and you don't see them in the iconic outfits until like an hour and 10 minutes into an hour and 45-minute movie.
Right. Untight. That's because they start off in the real world and the dark colors of the real world. It's only after they're in the parallel universe, the parallel dinosaur universe, for a long time that they finally get their full colors. Oh, and then when they go back to the real world, or what is for us the real world, they go back to wearing their old clothes, right? Or are they still wearing?
You've already accepted we're living in the Mario Brothers movie.
Oh my God!
For us, that is the real world.
Oh my God, I said that, didn't I?
I'm putting like a dash and then Ron 2020.
Yeah, this has gotten darker and darker. Yeah, let's sign off.
All right.
Let's sign off so I can go watch some mediocre movie or TV show.
Until next week, this has been Dan.
Yeah, and this has been Ron.
And this has been a nominee. And I for one, personally like our new Koopa overlords.
I don't know. I'm still open on them.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the Kent Brockman thing.
What was that?
I just wanted to say the Kent Brockman thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
I, for one, embrace our new robot overlords.
And I can't do the response. I don't remember what else is said.
I think usually it just cuts to like insects eating somebody. Anyway,
all right.
Later, folks.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Take care.